Okay, let's continue on the installation of our vulnerability scanner, which is called Nexpose in here. Nexpose. So navigate to the rapid7.com/products/nexpose/download. It has Inside VM, which is much more powerful, and it has Nexpose. So it has a free trial, as I told you. Nexpose is really great. It really covers black boxing and white boxing penetration testing. So black box is when you don't have any information about the target. It really does a great job in finding vulnerabilities in this way. And white boxing or gray boxing is when you have credentials, you have some kind of access to the target, and then you scan the target with credentials. I will show you what I mean. We will have black box and white box penetration testing all together in this very course in here or lecture in here. So the full name, we say hackers. The last name, we say exposed. So you can put your name, of course. You should put your name. And I do navigate to mail.tm and actually copy this temporary email. You can put your Gmail. I think Gmail is not accepted. You have to have some kind of, let's say test@gmail.com. It's not going to be validated, for example. So you should put some kind of organizational email or some kind of temporary emails in here. The company is something or testing. This is for testing purposes. And I put some default telephony in here. I don't want to get anything. I just want to test the software and present it in here. So no production use is actually done in here. It will investigate my email and my information, and then I can go for the download of the Windows version 64-bit or the Linux version. So you see down here Rapid7 setup-Linux x64. So go for the download right now and get this bin file for your Parrot OS to be installed in here. And also in this temporary email or your organizational email, you should wait for a license for a 1 month or 512 hosts actually limitation of license in here. So it will give you a serial number that you can enter inside your Nexpose installation, of course. So you see the license is presented to us. I will use this license, so it cannot be used by you, but you get another license for yourself, either via this temporary email or within your organizational email. So pause the video, go for the download of this file, and come back in here. Okay, I assume that you have downloaded the file. Let's navigate to the downloads. I have downloaded also the file. So sudo, let me just open another tab, paste the license so we have it. Sudo / first you should make it executable, sudo chmod a+x this file. So all this Linux tricks and concepts are covered in our Linux course, of course. And enter this one, sudo / the name of the file. So we are installing our actually vulnerability scanning software in here. So next, it's really easily installed. It's going to be installed in this address. The port, change the port to 5431. Move forward, the name is hackers, exposed, company is something, username is hackers, password is the password of password. It's very weak, no problem. Next, initialize and start after the installation. I don't want to do that. Next. So go for the installation and come back after this loading is done. Okay, as you see, the installation is complete. You can navigate to it through this address. So can we copy it? 3780, so HTTPS localhost 3780. We have the address in here, and finish. And you see the service is not up and running for now. So let's close all that. Navigate back in here, cd to the opt rapid7 nsc. We don't have it. Nexpose nsc. So here's the address that we should run the core of the program. So sudo nsc.sh, and of course I should put /nsc.sh. And then after the program was up, I will enter this license in here. So it will take a lot of time to start. It has a lot of updates to get and stuff like that. Let's run it to see what happens. So let's move forward and log into the application and see what is going on. The username was hackers. The password was password. And let's have a tour over this great vulnerability scanner. So you see, this is the dashboard of this application. You have the risks and assets over the time. You have your sites, the scans that have been done before, the asset groups, asset tags, and stuff like that. So the first thing that I want to show you is notification area. If you go here, it will redirect you to the Rapid7 website for buying this application, of course, and having a better version there, because this one is limited to 512 hosts or 1 month of usage. Well, you can reactivate this license again by requesting another license, just how I told you to do that, and get another license in your email, enter it where I will show you here. So this says the security console has been updated for the new vulnerability coverage, which means we are updated to the latest updates. So we go to the news content. This will show us some information regarding that we have the latest updates, but these lines in here will redirect us to the admin page. On the admin page, we have a part called administer. In the administer, you see we have the version information and the updates. So you can click on updates, start. If you come back to the console, you see it will search for a lot of new updates and stuff like that. So one note, let me Control-Shift-T, sudo systemctl status nexpose. So if you run this command, put the password, you see it says loaded and active is inactive, dead. That's because I have done a stop on the application after the restart of my operating system, and because it is running by default. So if I restart this Parrot OS and get a status in here like this, it will say that it is running on the background. But because I wanted you to see these lines in here and see how the updates are done and what is going on behind the scenes, I rather to enter this directory as you saw and run the nsc.sh application myself. So long story short, after the restarts, you don't need to go to this directory and run that sh file, and the expose will be running automatically. And if you want to check that, you will run status, you can run stop, start, and stuff like that. But for now, we have it on this shell. You see the manual update is done. It was updated, didn't need any packages to be downloaded. We have proxy authentication, stuff like that, the database, and we have licensing. So you see 0 from 512 assets are scanned, and if you fill this one, you need to re-enter another license, or if your 1 month is done. So you see expiration is Friday, July 2nd, 2021 at this time. The license will be over at this time. And you see we have everything. Oh, the license is full. So that's another beauty of Nexpose trial version as opposed to the Nessus, because Nessus is really limited in this type of license. So let's navigate to our home, create a site, and scan the 2 operating systems vulnerable machines that we set up. Okay, so we are ready to scan our 2 vulnerable machines. Let's Control-Shift-T. My IP address is, as you know, it was 85.830, and the Linux one, or the Ubuntu Metasploitable 3, is 85.131. You see it's accessible. 132 is the Windows 2008 R2 vulnerable machine, and I have access to both machines in here. So let's continue and do a vulnerability scan in here. Vulnerability scan is an important part inside any ethical hacking process. So either you do it manually or by tools, and in here we want to do it by tools. So I put it Metasploitable 3 machines scan. So if your resources are limited, just start your Parrot OS in your VMware or your VirtualBox, and also start one of the vulnerable machines such as the Windows one or the Linux one, scan it, and after it was finished, scan the other one. But in here I have both machines running on, so I can scan them simultaneously. So the IP address is 131, the first one, 132, the second one. So here you specify the assets. You can choose a file which contains the assets line by one or line by line. If you have any credentials, you can add them here. So for example, I can say SSH access and define credentials here. So I want to have a full vulnerability scanning going on in here and see the results. So this can be done on your red teaming, on your penetration testing, vulnerability assessment, or hardening projects. So the username is Vagrant, the password is Vagrant, again Vagrant, and it says, do you want me to do elevation with sudo? Of course, you can do that. The elevation user also is Vagrant, its password is Vagrant again. So you can test the credentials. For example, you can say, test these credentials on 85. What was the Linux? I think this was. Test the credentials. Testing the credentials. And you see authentication succeeded. And I think the Windows machine is also running a SSH service. And this might be correct on that. Maybe, I don't know. But I will, no, it's not. So sudo is not working. No problem. Create this one. And I want another credential, so add SMB creds. This is really great. You can customize this tool as you want, or whatever you want. So there is no domain. The username is administrator. The password is Vagrant. Password is Vagrant. You can test that on 100, 92, 168, 85, 132, 445. Test the credentials. And you see authentication succeeded. So we can have black box and white box penetration testing or vulnerability scanning both at the same time with this tool, with whatever we are doing right here. So you give it credentials. This one will go and check a lot of policies, a lot of checks and stuff like that. And at the same time, we'll do black box vulnerability scanning, which means it will do a scanning with and without these credentials, which is correct. So we have the templates. CIS is a security standard. You should read about it in our 40 hours course, but denial of service type of scan. DSIS also has a lot of hardening checklists and stuff like that. So we have a lot of things in here. But I want to do exhaustive scan, which has most of these items in here. Or we can do full audit without web spidering. That's also cool. But if you go to, let's see, control and click here, if we go to managing the templates, we see the explanations about these templates, scanning templates and stuff. So let's see. So again, if you have any performance problems, turn off one of the vulnerable machines. For example, have Windows or Linux one at a time, do the scanning and stuff, and after you got the report, you can turn off that and turn on the other machine. That's simple as that. You can create your templates, or you can manage the currently created templates. So we have, you see, description for each of them: asset discovery type, service discovery, whether it is safe, what is the source and stuff like that. So CIS is policy compliance test. DSA is also like that. Denial of service is self-explanatory. So we have full audit. We have exhaustive right here, performs an exhaustive network audit using only safe checks, including patches, policy compliance checks, and stuff like that. Performing an exhaustive check could take several hours depending on the number of the hosts. So full audit without web spidering will do a scan without any web interaction. So it will not check for web vulnerabilities and stuff like that. So I want to do what? I want to get a copy of this exhaustive and customize my own template, which is great. We can have customized templates for ourselves and do the scanning with those templates. For example, I don't want it web spidering in this course or in this video because it takes a lot of time. I don't want any asset discovery to happen, so I consider all the hosts live. This is due to my experience. I do that on my real projects. Currently, I'm on a project for scanning thousands of services and hundreds of servers for my client. So this is the tool that I use. CNSTLs, all the possible ports. For the UDP, that was for the TCP. For the UDP, you can check for the well-known ports. You can say do Nmap service detection for service detection, of course. It will take some time. Discovery performance, vulnerability checks. So you can say performance safe checks. If you click on that or check this item, it will send denial of service or buffer overflows to the targets, which might crash the target. There is explanations all over here. Include potential vulnerability checks, which will give us a lot of other potential vulnerabilities. We can correlate the checks, and we can use Metasploit for doing the checks. So there's some items in here for scanning databases, mail services, and stuff like that, DHCP servers, telnet servers. We have policy-based scannings, so there are no policies available to select because, yeah, policy is not selected for this type of scanning here. Let me see. So we don't have any policies in here. But there is CIS, there's DISA and other stuff. So Windows domain policy checks, Unix policy checks, and all that stuff. I don't want to get into that for now and keep this as small as possible because it's a mini ethical hacking course. That's it. We have our template scan. So do a refresh here. You will see exhaustive copy. So that's it. We have our template. We can move forward. You can have multiple engines. For example, we can install multiple Rapid7 Nexpose scanners and transfer the jobs to them. You can use the Rapid7 cloud also for if you have the license, of course. The others, the schedule, so you can schedule your scans every week, every month, every day to happen on your assets and give the reports, compare the reports. There's a lot of things that you can do with this tool. I will recommend it for black box, gray box, white box testing, policy compliance, hardening checks, and patch management and stuff like that. By patch management, I mean checking what patches are installed and stuff like that, not installing the patches, of course. So save the scan, save and do the scan, yes. So this will happen. It will go for scanning those two vulnerable machines, and with the report of this scan, we will go for the exploitation part, which is the next part in our very course. So we'll come back after the scanning process is done. Okay, as you see, the scan is our customized scan is completed successfully. So if there is any errors, it will be indicated in here. The scan engine was local scan engine. As I told you, we can use cloud or other engines installed on other servers. So this is really great. You can distribute your work through multiple engines. So the progress was done in this date, in this hour. Total elapsed scan time is 3 hours 34 minutes, which is a really big time and long time. So that's why credentialed exhaustive scans will take a lot of time. If you are in a hurry or if you don't want to do true scans, you can go for a full without a spider scan or penetration test scan. It has multiple types of templates, or you can create a template for yourself to be as fast as possible. So the number of vulnerabilities are really a lot, 2,688 vulnerabilities. That's because of the credentials we provided to this scan in here. If we do a scan without credentials, you will see there will be, for example, hundreds of vulnerabilities. For example, 200 vulnerabilities will exist in there. The scan was done on two assets, so the vulnerable Ubuntu and Windows 2008. It was started on this time, and the scan type was manual. We have another type called scheduled, so you can schedule your scans that can happen time to time. For example, one day of the week or something like that, which is really great. So the assets are listed in here, 31, 32, the Metasploitable 3, Vagrant 2008 R2. The operating systems are detected, the number of vulnerabilities, the scan duration for each of them. You see, the Linux one is really fast, but the Windows took a lot of time to check, for example, a lot of registry addresses, patch numbers or versions and stuff like that. So, and even the authentication on the Windows was not fully administrator. It seems like that because you see partial credential success, but for this one you see credential success.